Imagine a man who built an empire not with flashy suits and public bravado, but with the quiet stillness of a gardener tending his roses. A man who loved opera and home-cooked pasta, yet held the entire New York construction industry in the palm of his hand. This was Anthony "Tony Ducks" Corallo, the last of the old-world mafia bosses, whose fate was sealed not by a traitor's bullet, but by a tiny microphone hidden in the dashboard of his chauffeur's Jaguar. His story isn't just a rise and fall. It is a tale of how the most powerful man in the underworld was brought down by his own voice. To understand Corallo, you have to forget everything you think you know about mobsters. He wasn't John Gotti. He despised the spotlight. Born in East Harlem in 1913, he was a stump of a man who preferred the simple life of an Italian peasant farmer. He lived in a magnificent home in Oyster Bay Cove, Long Island, a stone's throw from the fictional grandeur of Gatsby's mansion, but he used it as a fortress of privacy. He was a devout family man, a quiet presence who let other bosses grab the headlines and, consequently, the prison sentences. His genius was in the shadows. Corallo understood that true power in America didn't come from street corners, it came from the gears of the economy. Alongside gangster Johnny Dio, he quietly took control of not one, but 5 local chapters of the International Brotherhood of Teamsters. He didn't just shake down businesses, he owned the unions that ran them, the painters, the textile workers, the plumbers. If a skyscraper was going up in New York, Anthony Corallo had a hand in the concrete, the trucks, in the labor. He turned the Lucchese family into a corporate giant, generating millions by controlling the very flow of work in the city. This ability to operate in the dark earned him his famous nickname. In a 30-year span, he was arrested over a dozen times for everything from narcotics to grand larceny. Yet time and time again, the charges would vanish, dismissed, or deadlocked. His mentor, Tommy Lucchese, would watch in amazement and muse, "Tony Ducks again." The name Tony Ducks stuck, a testament to his skill at dodging the consequences of his life. He even famously sat before a U.S. Senate committee investigating labor racketeering and pleaded the Fifth Amendment 120 times in just 2 hours, refusing to utter a single useful word. By the 1970s, after serving a brief prison stint, Corallo emerged as the undisputed boss. His vision was imperial. He realized that to control construction, you had to control the dirt. He took over the gravel distribution networks on Long Island. Think about that for a moment. If you needed gravel to lay a foundation, you had to go through Tony Ducks. He moved from gravel to garbage, creating a stranglehold on the waste hauling industry, and then expanded his reach into the sprawling freight operations at JFK Airport. From his quiet home, he ran a silent empire that skimmed millions from the lifeblood of the city. But empires built on secrecy crumble when the silence is broken. In the early 1980s, a stubborn garbage hauler named Robert Kubica refused to play ball with the mob-controlled Sanitation Association on Long Island. He faced harassment and threats, but instead of giving in, he went to the police and agreed to wear a wire. Kubica's information led investigators to Salvatore Avellino, a Lucchese captain who ran the garbage racket. They tapped Avellino's phone, and while the calls were careful, they revealed a crucial routine. Every morning, Avellino would drive to Oyster Bay and pick up his boss, Tony Ducks, chauffeuring him around the city for the day. This was the opening the authorities needed. In a scene that could have been ripped from a spy novel, agents from the New York State Organized Crime Task Force waited for a rainy night when Avellino and his wife were at a dinner dance. They slipped under the man's black Jaguar, popped the dashboard, and installed a listening device connected to the car's interior microphone. The next morning, Avellino picked up Corallo, and the trap was sprung. For weeks, investigators listened in disbelief. Inside the leather-scented cabin of that Jaguar, the old Don felt safe. He talked freely with Avellino, revealing the innermost secrets of the Mafia Commission. He discussed the structure of the families, their control over industries, their history, and their internal conflicts. He was captured on tape, in his own voice, confirming his role as boss in detailing the criminal enterprise he ran. It was the first concrete proof of the Commission's existence and operations, a goldmine of evidence that prosecutor Rudolph Giuliani would use to destroy them. On February 25, 1985, the hammer fell. Corallo and the heads of New York's 5 families were indicted in the historic Mafia Commission trial. The man who had ducked justice for 50 years was finally cornered, not by a witness, but by his own incriminating words. In November 1986, he was convicted on all counts. The judge looked at the 87-year-old man who had controlled the city's concrete and gave him a sentence of concrete: 100 years in federal prison. Anthony Corallo, the quiet Don who loved his garden and his opera, died far from his Long Island home in a federal medical center in Springfield, Missouri, in the year 2000. He was the last of a generation, a man who believed that silence was golden. In the end, it was the modern world's ability to capture sound that proved to be his undoing.